your turn to play bad cop?
Nah. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
I don't want to do your dirty work no more.
Boom. We're back. Season 1 finale already, guys. We wrapped up these. We'll get into it. Some interesting things have happened in all of our shows. Some feel less season finale than the others, I would say. I don't know how everybody else felt, but mine, certain ones I just was like, okay, this could just be the next episode into the next thing. I don't know why we're taking a break, but it is what it is. Mark, less episodes than the past few weeks, right? Because we only had 3 per show. We are on 11, 12, and 13 of all of our shows. How was your viewing experience this week?
It was it's nice to finish things up. Honestly, from like I think I had said, I kind of watched up into this point in The Shield. I'd seen Sopranos before. This is, I think, a week where I actually remembered a bunch of stuff. Of like, oh yeah, I remember this happening. Okay, this, a lot of stuff was coming back. And it's probably be one of the few weeks that happened. So there you go.
I wish that was the case for me. All of it felt new. Had no idea any of it. Next up, Matt, how was your viewing experience this week?
Whenever we start getting to the season finales, we're usually in for some good stuff. It's all been building up. These last few weeks have been building up to this, and I think some of them probably stuck the landing a little better than others, but that's what we get to talk about.
We'll talk about all 9 episodes today. Again, 11, 12, and 13 from Sopranos, Mad Men, and The Shield. And then we will rank season 1 of each show against each other. Again, we are not ranking them against Breaking Bad, The Wire, or Oz, because, again, the more seasons we do, the less likely we will remember how bad those Oz seasons truly were. And then at the end of season 2 of TV Chronicles, we will rank the series, because we can do that pretty easily, I think. All right. I guess this is Matt's turn. Matt's going to talk about The Shield. I even did something for us, guys.
Uh-oh.
So why don't you just get into
nice.
it. And now, when people watch our show, it took us 2 seasons. When people watch our show, you know what episode we're talking about instead of blank. So I put all of ours in there. I picked the Shield color, blue. I don't know. I'll pick a random color for Mad Men and Sopranos. But blue made the most sense because of police officers. So,
I dig it. All right. So as it says down here, we're going to start with episode 11, Carnivores, which the episode opens up with Rondell and Kern from previous episodes. They're going for a car ride. Rondell's trying to get some money from him. And then someone comes up and starts shooting at them in their vehicle. Meanwhile, Vic and Shane are waiting for Rondell with a drug dealer who's going to be selling them a massive amount of drugs. But Rondell doesn't show up, so the dealer leaves. Then Rondell finally does show up to tell Vic that the Black Muslim group shot at him. We cut to Danny and Julian responding to a call with one victim deceased when we get there, and another older gentleman nailed to the floor. So that they were robbed and kind of harassed a little bit. They're able to get the guy off the floor, and he pretty much immediately grabs a gun and shoots himself. So not a great day for this family.
Absolutely wild. Every death or every incident is like the extreme of the extreme in The Shield. Like, it's nothing like normal.
Yeah, I would say that the writer of some of these episodes would go on to create Sons of Anarchy, and I can usually tell which episodes he wrote by some of the things that happens in these episodes.
I've heard things about that, never seen it, but I've heard some interesting stories about Sons of Anarchy.
So then we get to Vic and Shane visiting a local Nation of Islam house there. They're looking for a gentleman named Xavier. He denies shooting at Kern and Rondell. Then Vic and Shane and the rest of them, they kind of go and round up some drug dealers and stuff. And they find one who pretty much kind of confesses to it. So it was kind of an inside job by one of Rondell's people who thinks he can run the show better. Meanwhile, Dutch and Claudette are on the other case. They find the daughter of the previous victims. They're able to interview her with the help of an interpreter. They find out that it's 3 Korean boys. They are responding to I guess they spent a whole lot of money at a jewelry store. So the guy kind of calls that in, and they investigate that a little bit. Which I feel kind of bad for this guy. He loses his jewelry, and then the cops take the money too, and they say like, "Oh yeah, reach out to us. You'll get it back eventually, maybe." But thanks for being a good citizen. It's like, not next time.
Yeah, it's like not next time. No, thank you.
But they do find out that one of the one of the 3 kids was the original victim's grandson. Then we find out that there was another home invasion in which one of the victims tells the police that it was his cousin and 2 of his friends. So Dutch and Claudia are able to kind of track down the clues, and they finally track down the 3 boys and arrest them. So that's kind of it for that case. Meanwhile, Aceveda visits his old girlfriend from who the previous episode accused him of rape. She's sticking... she is sticking to the story that he assaulted her. But of course, Aceveda is still denying it, and he's able to, with his contacts, get the story killed in the newspaper. However, the reporter is still out to get him, and she says she's just going to get it published in another story or another paper. So he goes and visits his political friend, and he says, yeah, you still need to go and get your ex-girlfriend to recant the story, and that's the only way to get this taken care of. So he goes back to see her again. It's still another great idea by Aceveda. She tries to seduce him, but he ends up finding that she has a recording device on her back. And then she kind of tells him the story of how maybe he didn't rape her, but a couple of his, friends, college-age friends there, ended up raping her after he bragged about the rough sex that she liked to have. So, fun times.
Genius.
Meanwhile, Rondell tried to do a drive-by on the Muslims, which thankfully just minor injuries. No one got killed in that because Rondell sucks at everything he does.
So true.
We find the school that Vic and his wife were trying to enroll their son in. They put him on the waiting list after they saw Vic in the paper for the whole drug scandal thing. But Vic is able to use his strike team contacts to investigate the family that bumped them. And then he's also able to help one of the administrators find a missing ring that was stolen from her. So now Matthew is accepted at the school. So Vic did some good deeds with his sources. Xavier and the other Muslims bring in a drug dealer on a citizen's arrest. They bring him right into the barn there and tell Aceveda, this is a citizen's arrest. We're turning him in. We're going to clean up our own streets. At the same time, Rondell shows up at the barn looking for protection from Vic, and Vic pretty much tells him he needs to get out of there. And Rondell says that if he goes down, he won't be going down alone. Which is, if we've learned one thing, is you don't want to threaten Vic in this show.
No.
Xavier tells Aceveda that he and his people are going to wait in the lobby until this situation is taken care of. And then I was getting kind of Oz flashbacks in this sequence here.
100%. I was just marking single file. I could just stand there. I'm like, where's Saeed coming? Like, Saeed's coming in.
Would have been a great opportunity for a crossover there.
Right.
Julian ends up talking to Tomas, who was pulled in. I guess he got caught doing some other stuff. He told Julian he's upset that he never called him. Aceveda tells Vic that he's got officers out looking for Rondell, and he's interested to see what he has to say. Danny is upset with Julian for the whole blanket party situation from the previous episode. She didn't like that he went ahead and did that. Rondell accidentally shoots at Vic and Kern when they're meeting up on the rooftop. Vic nearly throws him off the roof, and he tells Kern that he needs to handle the situation. Vic is able to make a deal with Tio, who was one of Rondell's people, one of the other dealers. We have a crazy scene, Julian and Danny tracing down a suspect, and Julian kind of gets him cornered there in the fence, and before disarming him, he just kind of puts his gun away and tells the guy to shoot him, but he doesn't, and they arrest him. Danny confronts him, pretty much saying like, hey, I mean, I know that you're gay. It's not worth dying for. And besides that, I mean, it's my life that you got to be watching too. So all that stuff. So yeah, they had kind of a nice little heart-to-heart moment there. Vic tells Kern that Rondell is out and Tio is in. And then the episode ends with Dutch and Claudette showing up at a crime scene where we see Rondell's dead body. So that is the end of Carnivores. Kind of a nice little filler episode there.
That's a very filler show. Like nothing pressing. Because this is a filler because the next two episodes are just batshit. Like I don't know where the Shield closing like episodes will always be, but like I was just like, we just went down a whole rabbit hole. But this one was fine. I mean, It was weird. It was like because like the Muslims were in there because they were talking about like the drug dealers are getting off scot-free, and it's basically Vic getting like a negotiation between the drug dealers, like which one he can get a better cut from and cut the other one out. Yeah,
because Tio pretty much just tells him if it was me and we had that situation, I would just move down like 3 blocks.
Well, and then the other one's like he shows up like at the barn and like starts like raising like hell inside there, and like Vic doesn't know how to do it, and like then he basically sets him up to like that he's crazy and gonna throw him off the roof and kill him in front of everybody. So just to make him leave town, basically, so the other guy can just like basically take over. Like it's a filler episode of like Vic's doings, but his skills will be put to the test in the next 2 episodes of what he can get away with. So
I don't know. I liked it. I mean, yeah, I didn't
hate it. By any chance, I didn't hate the movie. The show. I was just like, it was just. If this was any episode, like there's no, I didn't see anything like moving the story ahead. It was more like chaos inside the barn, like basically how I thought, which was fine.
Yeah.
I mean, again, I kind of remember saying this last week. You know, I don't see anything wrong with like these guys taking sometimes like a more episodic approach to this, especially when it's fun. Yeah. Like I won't really care if it's fun because like I think so this was written by Kurt Sutter. This episode was I can see that. There's a lot of that in here where you know we're not really building a ton, but you know what, I'm also not telling you I'm not having a good time, you know. I can 100% get behind that, and like especially when Vic's acting crazy, gonna throw a guy off the roof, and you know we're dealing with like these kids who are stealing from their grandparents, and the grandparents don't want to tell anybody what. Okay, like I can get behind that. Like, a solid episode.
If these are the filler episodes, sign me up.
Yeah.
Like I can get on board. Like filler Oz episodes, I want to get all. So I think we're good. I think we're golden on this.
I can't wait for the musical episode of The Shield. That's gonna be.
I mean, I enjoy.
There's a Sopranos ones coming. I'm very angry.
All right, so we'll move into almost a 2-part season finale, I would call it. Starts out with 2 Days of Blood, episode 12. And we start out with a cockfight that gets broken up by the strike team.
Carlos Mencia is
cockfight.
What?
Yep, and we get Carlos Mencia as one of the perps, the arms dealer, but he says that hey, I can help you guys get an even bigger arms dealer. I can hook you up with Pazzi Argula. So they're going to kind of work with him and try to get a bigger fish. Meanwhile,
this is a theme. This is a theme that the Shield does. It's if it doesn't continue after this, but it's in this. This is very similar to the basketball episode. This is this storyline, not the entire thing, but like the goofy off the wall that makes no fucking sense why we're doing it. Because there's one more in the scene, but I'm not real season. There was 3 in the season. It was that one. There was one other one, and then this one. That it's just like a goofy off the wall, makes no fucking sense why we're doing it, but we're doing it for some reason. But I thought it was hilarious. But I was just like,
cockfighting is a big thing out there in LA. So
I know, but it's so weird. Like that they're just like, especially the other shit that goes down in this episode, and we're worried about Carlos Mencia and the cockfighting. This is wild.
But yeah, speaking of the other things, elsewhere we have a drug dealer is run over in a hit and run, and then shortly thereafter we find out that the driver was Gilroy, Vic's kind of friend and guardian. He comes to Vic for help.
Well, and the last time we saw him, he tells Vic that he can't cover for him anymore. Like he can't help him. It's over. It's ran its course. Like I can't stick my neck out for it anymore. And then he shows up. I was just like, oh no, he's the one. And then we'll get to
how the tables have turned.
There's a moment that I'm still like, I saw hit the floor.
Yeah. So then we got. And of course, so Vic is gonna kind of help him out. He's got the rest of the strike team kind of trying to get the car fixed up and just kind of get some information about everything. But then we cut to probably the worst thing that could possibly happen. Dutch and Claudette are on the case.
Because he said, sorry, I don't mean to keep cutting you out. This episode had me like enthralled. So I was just like, what? But he's like, I'll make sure this never hits your desk. Like hits your desk. And then all of a sudden it goes to those two. I'm like, it's fucking best, buddy. It is all. This dude just went serial killer happy. He is coming for whoever it is.
Oh yeah. Like one of my favorite things, Dutch is either the best detective to get your case or the worst detective. If it's a case that he's like super interested in, he's gonna be the best detective. If it's something he's like bored with or doesn't care about, you're in trouble. But
if you want to cover it up and he's into it, you're
And one of my favorite exchanges, they talk about the body was dragged 75 feet. The Dutch tells Claudette, and she's like, oh well, you better call Guinness World Records. He's like, no, the record's like 30 miles. It's amazing. That's just something that Dutch knows off the top of his head. But yeah, so then we go.
Prez would be friends if they ever like crossed the wire to here. They would be buddies. They would go get beers together.
Oh boy. But yeah, so we see Danny is worried that Julian isn't ready to report back to duty yet, especially after the last episode. But he says his head is 100%. He's good to go.
Yep. Anything happened in this episode to put that to the test? Asking for a friend.
We will find out.
Okay.
But Aceveda has to pull Claudette off of the case to help him with a double homicide that has occurred in another part of town. So she goes with Aceveda. When they get there, they find that Aceveda's counsel's opponent, Carol Mitchell, is in the crowd already on behalf of the current councilman to assess the situation. Witnesses say that the killer is a man named Wally Fortin and that it took over an hour for the police to arrive, long enough for him to kind of go out and make sure the coast was clear and then go back inside and kill the people. So the crowd isn't super happy about this. And Claudette tells Aceveda that he needs to prioritize catching the killer over his politics. Then they kind of go back to the barn and they listen to the 911 call, and you get to hear the murder is actually happening on the 911 call. So that's a little crazy. Gilroy tells Karen Mitchell that usually their system works pretty good, but he throws Aceveda under the bus for this particular instance and says it was kind of up to him to determine where the police get dispatched to and stuff. But of course,
with this fucking guy, like, what are you talking about? It's under my discretion. It's what you told me to do.
Yeah, we've all had bosses like that. But Aceveda and Claudette, they are pretty much able to, they have the information. They're able to track down Wally Fortin pretty quick and arrest him. Meanwhile, Vic is offering to help Dutch. He's being super helpful and buddy with Dutch to help him out with this case.
It's fucking gross. Like, get down on your knees, basically. Oh, I got you, buddy. Like, you shit his desk. What are we doing?
Vic finds out that Gilroy had a lady companion in the car, but of course Dutch has already found this out. And so it's like, oh, Vic's like, oh, okay, well, let's go together. It's like, oh, no, I already came from there. She's not there. So so Vic continues in the investigation his way. He's got a little bit more information than Dutch, though. He's able to find the witness that witnessed the hit and run. So he goes and pulls him. And he almost has to shoot his way out of that situation when he tries to haul this guy away from his gang.
Yeah, didn't Dutch find out that information too about what, like?
Yeah, I think a little bit later on he kind of finds out about that witness. But Vic pulls the witness aside, and he's able to kind of make a deal with the witness to kind of keep his mouth shut. They come to an understanding. It's like, hey, I'm gonna give you this nice get out of jail free card. We got you. We're good friends to have. And then pretty much as soon as he says that, Gilroy shoots the witness and kills him.
I was like, no, you idiot. This like, it should have been way more obvious in my head of how he was acting in the entire exchange.
No, yeah.
When he did, I was just like, you just made this shit even fucking harder, because 10 people can identify Vic taking him out of this pile of people, and he was the last known person to see him with him. Like, you just made this so much harder on him.
Oh yeah, and Gilroy knows.
He's
all
like, what?
of that.
Delete him? Like,
yeah, Vic's like, what do you do? And then Gilroy's like, nothing you haven't done before.
And he references a case, but I don't know what that case was.
I think he references Terry.
Oh no, yeah, when he
shot in the first episode, yeah. Oh yeah, so he's dead. They drop the body off in a rival gang territory. Meanwhile, Dutch is able to put more pieces together, and he is able to track down the name of the witness and stuff like that. So he is still getting there, and he does track down, I think, one of the other gang members and brings him in to interrogate him. And Vic is able to get Julian. Is like, Julian, I need your help. Remember, we're buddies now, so I need you to go up there and get Dutch out of there for me. And Julian doesn't want to do it at first, but he ends up going there and telling Dutch that Aceveda is looking for you. So Vic is able to kind of sneak into the interrogation room, kind of intimidate the witness to keep his mouth shut, did not mention anything about him. But you know, Dutch, he realizes something off. He isn't buying all this stuff. So pretty much, then we have Vic talks with Aceveda, and Aceveda is kind of starting to suspect some stuff, and Vic's starting to suspect some stuff. Pretty much, Vic finds out from Aceveda that Gilroy is kind of allowing crime to flourish in this one area so he can buy property up cheaper through some shell companies. Meanwhile, over with Carlos Mencia, Shane is learning about cockfighting so he can go undercover and get Pazzi. But you know, for Shane, he's playing chess, so he's like, I can go catch this guy, or I can talk to this bounty hunter who's trying to get a Mexican bounty on the guy, and we can go in 50-50 and get this reward money. But yeah, Shane is getting really into the cockfighting, and he has one fight that he wins, and he gets super excited. And then he gets to do another fight, and unfortunately his chicken is killed, and he's kind of a little bit depressed about that.
Hey, at the beginning of the season, wasn't Shane all broken up when they had to kill that cop? And like now, like he's excited getting the cop committed and like selling a dude to the Mexican government. Like, what is it? What are we doing?
Well, that's not a cop. He doesn't know this guy. I do love too that he doesn't understand how many pesos it is. He's like, yeah, that's gonna be like $200,000 a piece. I was like, no, that's only like about $50,000. But yeah, Shane is introduced to Pazzi, and then they knock him out and turn him over to the bounty hunter. So they're gonna get that split money. And he tells Lem, he's like, it's gonna be 10,000 for me, 10,000 for you, and 5,000 for Vic, because you know it's Vic, pretty much. We find Julian was speaking with his pastor to kind of go over his issues that he's been having, and he decides he's going to enter sexual reorientation therapy. So I'm sure we're going to see more of that storyline developing.
That'll fix his problems.
Oh, yeah, definitely, of course. And then as we get close to the end here, Vic's wife calls and asks when he's going to be coming home from dinner. He says he's probably not going to be able to make it home tonight because he's working. But she's like, oh, Gilroy's already here though. And Vic's like, what? and he talks to Gilroy, and he's pretty much, oh, like, yeah, you should be spending time home with your family. You never know what could happen. So Vic pretty much sends the cops over there because he's not gonna be able to get there in time. And by the time they get there and Vic gets there, Gilroy's already gone. And then pretty much the episode ends with the 911 call was leaked to the press. And a lot of the civilians are unhappy about this. And there's an angry mob kind of forming. And then we have some gunshots going off, which leads to kind of mass hysteria and a riot starts. And that's kind of how this episode ends.
Fun.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I was shocked. Like, again, a character that basically you don't really know much about because you just think he's the higher up. So you're like, okay. And then when he tells Vic he's not going to cover for him anymore, and then for him to return, I'm like, okay, he got drunk. He just needs to get this wiped away. That's easy. But then the webs that this man has went through is now he's buying up properties in the area and he's reducing the crime, making the crime high so he can buy it cheap, and then he's going to have them all clean them out. Basically, it's just layer of stuff that's about. It's crazy. And then Vic just gets harder and harder to actually when he's having to clean up the work. It was great. It was great. So
I mean,
that was a great episode.
I mean, we shouldn't be super surprised that he turned out to be dirty. I mean, he was kind of cool.
He was covering for Vic, that makes sense.
They've been friends for 20 years, so I'm sure they've probably gotten into some stuff together.
Yeah, he's like, hey, I'm pretty sure you killed that cop, but we're cool. So yeah, I'm not super sorry, but yeah, this is. Wait, what the? Oh, Matt's gone. Yeah, no, this episode really went to some places. I was kind of shocked. It just feels a bit weird because, you guys are right. We kind of got this episode, kind of case of the week episode, and then we get this thing that's kind of dropped in our lap. It's it kind of sort of at least one of their show's finale this past week. Kind of one of its cooler things that it wasn't really fully expecting to get that from The Shield, but it sets itself up for a pretty good finale.
All right, so that's going to lead us up to episode 13, Circles. Nice little title. So the riot is still ongoing at the opening of this episode. Isabella and Claudette and a couple other people there are kind of holed up. Isabella gives the order to send in the riot police to help break up the riots, which they're able to kind of slow it down a little bit. There is one civilian casualty, unfortunately. Meanwhile, Vic is able to get his family to a safe place. His wife is kind of freaking out because he's not really telling her what's going on, but she has Lem kind of stay with them to protect them. And then we get Danny and Julian responding to a 911 call. When they get there, there's already a cop car there. And when they get to the cop car, they see one dead cop and one wounded officer who is in a critical condition. And then people start shooting at them from the balconies. So then that pretty much kind of leads to, it doesn't really resolve. It just shows up with the ambulance and the other cops there, pretty much. So like I said, the one officer's in critical condition.
Did we ever get a closure on that?
I mean, we don't know how they were able to stop. I guess the people just got tired of shooting at them, and they went away or something like that.
That's one of the dumbest ever. Like,
yeah, well, I guess maybe they freaked out when a bunch of other cop cars showed up, maybe. But yeah, so they pretty much just cut to it, and they kind of got that resolved there a little bit. The 911 call is traced, but the suspect claims that his cell phone was stolen. Then there's another 911 call, which results in 2 more cops getting killed. Meanwhile, Shane and Vic are able to find a witness there at that shooting, pretty much by kind of going through the crowd and saying that they have a witness coming down. They have a guy that just runs, so they chase after him. And I love the scene is the guy hops over the fence and Vic just like juggernauts right through the fence and tackles him. So he's able to kind of get to him, and they kind of question him a little bit.
That's how he got cast.
Yep.
That's literally it.
And I think that's where they kind of find out that it's a couple of shooters there. Meanwhile, Gilroy shows up at the barn and kind of takes over. He tells Aceveda, "I can't afford to have your leadership right now." He tells Vic to refocus on what matters, and that if he tries anything, he has enough to take Vic down. So Gilroy hasn't really been playing the Vic game very good these last 2 episodes. Vic goes to Aceveda for help in taking down a dirty cop, and he kind of gives him some of the information on Gilroy. Meanwhile, Gilroy goes to Aceveda trying to pin a murder on Vic. So they're pretty much kind of both playing with Aceveda, kind of caught in the middle there. When all of a sudden someone starts shooting out the windows at the barn, but then all the police kind of chase after, and they're able to talk them into surrendering. And we find out it's just some couple of copycats. It's not the actual cop killers. Vic and Shane are able to get some information from Tio, the drug dealer from a couple episodes ago. He kind of helps them track down one of the killers, and they're able to use the killer's father to kind of lure him in. So they catch him. He's got one of the police badges on him, which Vic uses to kind of stab him a couple times.
And Claudette walks right in.
Claudette walks in right after her, and she's like, "Oh, you look all right to me." But she gives Vic a nice little dirty look, though. Aceveda is able to track down Gilroy's female associate. He finds out that she was kind of working for him originally, and she kind of came up with the idea about buying the property up. Gilroy tries to frame Vic for the witness killing by planting the gun in Vic's home. That's pretty much what he was doing when he went over there in the last episode. And he tells Aceveda to get a search warrant for the house. But Aceveda decides to go with Vic to catch the other 2 cop killers instead. And we have a scene there where one of the cop killers has a good shot on Vic and is about to shoot him, but Aceveda kills the person, kind of saving Vic's life right there. So that's kind of a nice little flip. Kind of just shows that Aceveda ultimately is going to try to do the right thing, I guess. When they get back, Gilroy fires Aceveda for not doing the search warrant. Meanwhile, the strike team is searching Vic's house, just tearing it apart, trying to find the gun, which they do finally find the gun. And then Shane and Vic kind of get a hold of Gilroy. Gilroy tells Vic that he's not any better than he is, but Vic still can't shoot him. Shane offers to kill him for Vic, but he says no, they're going to go ahead and just arrest him instead. So they kind of haul him back into the barn, and kind of get all the cops just looking at him in disgrace and disgust. Corrine takes the kids and leaves. She leaves a message for Vic on the phone not to come looking for them for a while. Aceveda is giving a press conference. Dutch and Claudette are starting a new case. And Danny and Julian are kind of they've kind of patched things up. They're starting to get along better, have a good partnership. And then it ends with kind of Vic breaking down at his tore up house with his family gone before he puts the gun back in his pants and hits the street once again. And that's the end of season 1.
I'm gonna let Mark talk first. I talked first the last 2 times.
Okay. Good. Yeah, this is a really excellent finale. Really goes back and forth really well. I love the interactions between Vic and Aceveda. Like it's a thing that they can't keep doing forever, but I would kind of like this relationship to like stay around for as long as possible. Mm-hmm. Like they just have the perfect I hate you chemistry, but they also just work together really well. Like it's probably one of the best aspects of the show right now. And we just seeing just another great moment of Vic ultimately winning, him getting Gilroy there at the end, and just having, just the perfect way to end the season. Like goes home, family's gone, wife's like, yeah, don't try to find us, don't call me. He has like this mini like freak out, and then just goes back to work. Like just really awesome. Like just the chain of events we got there, just really great. And again, I don't have a ton of knowledge, I think, past this next season, but it feels like something that just really sets up the rest of the show pretty well.
Yeah, what I think they did super well this season, and like I wouldn't say like The Wire didn't do this, but like in this police procedure, like I believe like they spent so much time like the characters didn't go very far for outside the barn. I didn't try to like it wasn't a shot. I was just saying okay. I know you're in therapy working on that work. Listen, what I'm saying is like they did such a good job of keeping the barn small and actually like fleshing out those characters like traits. So yeah, there was extreme crime and there was different circumstances, but they didn't like explode too far out yet. Like they kind of kept everything contained. Like even this, Gilroy knows inspiration on Vic, all this stuff still gets away clean, basically, with Vic going down. And yeah, also like Aceveda and him like have this hate and love, like they work so well together, but they just I thought the explosion was going to happen at the end of the season when Gilroy showed up, so it kind of like took that away. I'm really curious to see when they do explode. But I thought it was a great season 1, like 13 episodes. Like I thought it was going to get boring with not like the same cop thing over and over. But honestly, Vic's such an interesting character, and like his basically like a corrupt Robin Hood is like a weird like situation. Like he does good, but he also does so much bad. Like it's great. So I'm interested to see where we go.
Oh yeah, because that's a great line in the exchange between Gilroy and Vic, where Vic tells him, "I'm nothing like you," and Gilroy's like, "Not yet."
There has been 2 things that Mark will not live down until it actually happens. That's Pete getting redemption at some point, and Matt's telling me to my face that the season finale of The Shield will be better than Breaking Bad. Which if it doesn't, you think that's something you ain't seen nothing. I may just crucify Matt on the call. But speaking of Pete and the Mad Men, I think it's time for you to start yours.
Oh, all right. I'll start out with episode 11, Indian Summer. Start out by checking back in with Adam, Don's brother. we see him just getting ready a package. What's
Can I pause something?
oh,
I want to make this on a note. Y'all know when I said something pretty outlandish in like the first few of the $5,000 episode.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
I overtalk a lot of people in my life. It's kind of my worst trait. I rewatched that episode, and you guys clearly say it's his brother. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You said when I said the thing about, do you think there's some sexual undertones? In watching the episode, and listening to your discussion, I missed brother twice.
Brother, lover, they all sound the
want
same.
to take that back. This is my mulligan of the season.
Oh, it's too late.
Way
Everyone's already
off.
seen that episode.
I thought so. I should have caught on to that. Should have been. We were watching a lot of new shows. Everything was coming up, but I was like, "How's he just giving this dude $5,000? Like they've got to be boning at some point in their life. Like who does
this dude keeps calling him Dick, and then all of a sudden Don's giving him this money. I don't get it.
I'm just meeting in this hotel room. What the fuck?
What kind of code name is Dick?
Brother. Got it? Now we're ready to roll. Okay. I just wanted to go back and just erase that. I can't erase it when it comes out live, but it's gonna I want to be here when you're here.
I mean, I can't speak for Matt. I had completely forgotten you said that. Like I feel like if you just like left it alone, like I
don't think Payson would have forgiven me for saying it. So I'm just wanting to clear the air right now because after this episode, definitely love her.
Yeah. A lot of evidence to prove the contrary.
Yeah.
Anyway, like Adam's like building up a package, send over to Don, gives it to the guy who's running the hotel and say, "Hey, can you send this out for me?" It's like, "Sure." And then we see Adam hang himself in his room, just getting right into that. Just like
he leaves the money too for the guy at the hotel, right?
Yeah, what was that about? Like, I mean,
why not just put that in the box or send it to Don? I don't get that.
Which, yeah. Anyway, so like we go to the office, and the fellas are trying to figure out how to market this new weight loss machine for women. They don't really get it. They don't know how to sell it. Say, hey, why don't we just give this to Peggy and like she can figure it out? Yeah. So Peggy takes on the job. She takes it home. She puts on the sucker, and she definitely feels something. And then shows up to Don the next morning. He said, "Hey, I think there's another reason why women are really liking this weight loss pill. I think I cracked the code why the sales are high. It's there's." I wrote it down for you, man. Just read it. I don't want to tell you about it. So yeah, she basically figured out that this was just it was really big into vibrations. We'll just
1960s vibrator. Right now.
Which would really like to look at the history of that. That was how vibrators came into being. It's just some weight loss pill.
I'll tell you, these men really like the women, and they just don't know anything about. Like they're like the all women. They're hard to figure out. Like these men just don't know how to talk at all. Like
anyway, Don then spends the night with Rachel. He's thinking of ways where they can have a life together, whether he's going to get divorced or they run away, like whatever. Like they're trying to figure it out.
Over him being married, like really quick.
Yeah, like once you have that one night with Don, like it's just kind of like a done deal.
Oh yeah, they're all just scumbags.
An air conditioner salesman visits the house with Betty. She he's trying to get her to buy something. He's like, hey, let me just measure this, measure your spot here downstairs and one upstairs. Like you're gonna kind of want one in your bedroom. Let me just go measure it out. And you can kind of send I can send the price to your husband later. It's like, all right. And then in the middle, while Betty's walking upstairs, she's like, you know what? I don't think we need anything. Like, I think you just got to get out.
I really related to this because I have a lot of solar panel people come through my neighborhood trying to sell me stuff all the time too, and I get kind of creeped out by them. So I feel for Betty here.
You had that moment where you're walking upstairs.
Yeah, I'm just following the guy up the stairs. Like, I don't think we should be doing this. You need to get out of my house.
I don't like your intentions.
If you need solar panels, wire my house. Get out of the roof.
So anyway, the agency's starting to get calls about Roger's condition, mainly Lucky Strike. They're worried that he's not healthy enough to handle their business. So Bert says, "Hey, why don't you come on down and see for yourself? Like, he's doing fine." And of course, Lucky Strike does. Listen, like, all right, I guess they called my bluff. They're coming in for the meeting. So Roger comes in. He's making an appearance. They get him all make-upped up, kind of making him look, less deathly, and in just grand fashion. He walks in the meeting. He's schmoozing. He's ripping cigs, and while holding a pastrami sandwich, making his declaration, he then clutches his chest like he has another heart attack. He has another misfortune.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, Lucky Strike is definitely not feeling super good. They do urge Bert is like, what, now maybe the time to to move up Don. Maybe Don can have like kind of more of a central role. Maybe we make him partner over this. And pretty much everybody around the office is like, they're probably going to make Don partner. Roger's probably on his way out. He's probably dead like in 2 months anyway. Peggy went on a date. Didn't go very well, like some truck driver, and like she's belittling him, he belittled her, like it was just terrible, awful.
Good times.
Yeah, that was perfect meet cute right there.
Dawn calls Betty's therapist. He's starting to be annoyed because she tells Dawn about the air conditioner guy coming over. And I think he's just annoyed by her mood in general. He's like, I don't know what the hell I'm paying you for. Like my wife had some nerves, and now like she's all moody and shit. I don't know what to do. Like, what are you doing? He's like, well, she can start seeing me more. You can start paying me more money. It's like, yeah, I'll never gonna do that. Goodbye. Peggy then gives a presentation on the weight loss device. They seem to like her angle on it. And then also like a fight breaks out whenever we realize like some of the wives were using it too much, and namely Freddie. Freddie didn't really like Kenny's type of talk, in there. And then Betty also has some like weird sex fantasy with the salesman when she's trying to push the washing machine over. She's just just gotta have her moments. Then Bert brings in Dawn and said, "Hey, we gonna make you partner. Gonna give you 12%. So now got more responsibilities. Your first job is to find a new head of accounts because it can't be Roger anymore." And then of course Pete realizes that's happened. He tries to weasel his way into the job. Don's having none of it. Leaves him there.
Wait, what's this? What's this just in? Yep. Pete is the worst still. Yep.
Still the worst. 11 episodes. Nothing's changed.
Then after that, Peggy asks for a raise. Don decides to give it to her, so she's going to get an extra $5 a week. So, good on her. Yeah. And then at the end of the day, after everybody's left, Pete is wandering around the office. He decides to step into Don's office, pretend he's Don. Package gets sent over to Don's office, which happens to be the package that Adam sent him at the beginning of the episode. He gets up, he leaves, and then right before we pan off, Pete takes the package and he takes it home with him.
He pulls a Denzel from Flight. He comes back for the the booze there.
That pretty much does it for Indian Summer. And Pete, listen, this is definitely some of Pete's worst moments. I'm not gonna lie. Yeah, this is coming.
Stealing a confidential package?
I mean, I don't know if he'll do anything in the next episode that will be like worse, but we'll see. Time will tell. Yeah, just the worst. No one has it worse in this world than the women in Mad Men. Like, holy shit. We here at the TV Chronicles pro women, very pro women. But holy shit, like they just like if the group of guys in this place are like the monkeys in Planet of the Apes that never learned how to talk. They just beat their chests and they say their things, and then Don Draper is Caesar. Like he sits there and he has he portrays who he needs, but he is still the worst version of Caesar. Like Caesar, if Caesar was just a piece of shit. Because he's up there, these 3 episodes, he's up there for bad guy. Because there's a clear moment that is a douchebag move. Cut. But overall, I thought it was a great episode. Again, it's the writing, it is the character work that is making me go in week to week. Because normally I'm a crime, give me some action, give me something. These are fucking ad salesmen, guys. Like, ad guys. And they have me hooked with every light of a cigarette and every heart attack that happens and every awkward encounter that they have to talk to a female. It's insane. It doesn't help that the hottest women in the world work with all the men in this show. So that doesn't but good Lord.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a great episode. I love that this is a very good Peggy episode. You kind of see her rise where she gets another job there when the Alexerciser, and she does a great job with that. And so she's doing good. Don got another promotion. This guy's probably made like an extra $40,000 this year almost from where he started at the beginning of the year. So great for Don. But yeah. Really good episode, but we're going to get into some even better episodes, I think.
Yeah. Like I said, PvP is going to be who he is, and I'm sure I'm not going to have to side talk my way out of some stuff. And yeah, definitely the highlight of this episode for me was definitely Roger just comically having yet another heart attack.
And I love too with Mona just like giving it to Bert too for dragging him into this thing.
Like he just got out of the hospital. Of course he's gonna have another heart attack. Like he can't. Like Roger just can't fake being in the office. Like I don't know what he's doing. Like just going in there.
And they probably made him walk up all the stairs again.
Strike is paying him, but light it up, Roger. Let's see if your heart can hold it.
Yeah. Well, go right into it. Yeah, this one's gonna be a long one. Got good old Nixon versus Kennedy, episode 12. Just like it says in the episode, it is election day for Nixon and Kennedy. People are a bit somewhat uneasy about it, even though they tried to help out with the campaign. Apparently the Nixon campaign didn't really want Sterling Cooper's help in the whole thing. Everybody's saying it's probably going to be a close one. It shouldn't be this close, whatever. Don has been bringing in people to fill in for head of accounts. He brings in Duck Phillips, who has spent his last couple of years over in England. And rumors already coming out from England that, he kind of left in some set of a disgrace. Although he has a pretty good interview. He has a pretty good interview with Sterling Cooper. And everybody's saying he's probably the best one that Don's brought over. After that meeting, of course, Pete comes in and is like, listen, Don, you got your guy right here. All right. All these guys, these people, they trust me. Okay. That guy who needed to see a urologist called me. They invite me to their, granddaughters, their grandson's christenings. They like me. All right. Like, I don't think you've taken me serious as a candidate. And Don is like, yeah, because I haven't. Ain't gonna be you, buddy. I don't know what you're talking about. So, after that happens, of course, all the senior people of the office leave. And once it happens, just a big old party breaks out in the office, like in honor of the election. A lot of people are really excited about the election, back in the days. So everybody's, just getting drunk. They, put I don't know, they said it wasn't absinthe, but I can't think of any other liquor that is green that isn't absinthe. They just put in a water cooler, which is insane. People drinking like absinthe out of this water cooler.
The 60s was a different time. Like, we used to drink that stuff in college just to make people feel terrible about it. So, I don't know, like, you lose a bet, you drink that stuff. I don't know. These people are just drinking it fine.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we just wanted to do something dumb for the night. Like, why not?
Yeah.
It's Friday. Let's just
hit a bottle of absinthe. Why not? Right? The night is young.
So, then go from the party. Pete has opened the package that was sent to Don, and he's looking through it. And of course, it's a bunch of old pictures of Don and his brother. And also it's also gotten rid of Adam and Dick, everywhere. So pretty clear that, and then Pete can tell from these pictures. This is Don in the picture, and I'm not seeing.
You mean
Don.
As he's like creepily just looking through the pictures on his couch in the middle of the night?
Yeah,
not like the first time he's done it, apparently.
Yeah, Trudy has made a note of that. Yeah, I don't know what you're doing. Like every day for like a week, for like 2 weeks, you've been coming out here just looking at these pictures.
It's creepy.
He
what are you hiding? Like to her, like, your wife.
Yeah, she was like, my dad had a box like that too, and I made the mistake of looking in it. I haven't looked into yours yet.
To Pete's defense, it would be simpler if he could just tell her these are naked lady pictures.
Yes.
I mean, because he can just say that and the conversation's over. Instead, he's like, hey, like, why do you have these pictures of some guy and his brother?
If you open this box, you're going to have way more questions.
It was accidentally mailed to me. And you've been looking through it for a week?
And also, what else does he need to find? If he's been doing this for 2 weeks.
I think he's been kind of working up the courage to use this information to his benefit.
But why do you keep going back to the box? The box is clear.
I don't know. Maybe just he just doesn't know who Don is. I don't know. I honestly am not 100%.
Yeah, because maybe, just maybe, he's the worst.
Like, well, yeah, it's weird. It's a little creepy. Whatever. And get past it. Oh yeah, there's also this bit. They find a play in the office that Kenzie was writing. He's not happy about it at first, although at some point people want to then perform the play. So they get Joan and Salvatore to start acting out like this dumb play he has. And then everybody's still celebrating the office about possible good stuff that's happening to Nixon. Harry then kisses Pete's secretary. They end up having sex in his office, and of course feels bad about it. Like morning after, he feels bad about it. Also, is not very sensitive for the matter. Harry also not a great guy. Also a bit where Kenzie and Joan kind of share this weird moment at the end of the night, because like she kind of trying to acknowledge that she knows that Kenzie has a crush on her, and they then share a dance with maybe the least amount of chemistry I think I've ever seen in my life. Like I can't try. I'm trying to think of something less than brother sister chemistry. Like whatever is worse than that. That's what that dance was. Then Peggy's back at the office in the morning. It's just ripped to shreds. They stole her money. She got puke in her trash can. She's like, yeah, what the fuck is this, guys? This is bullshit. Of course, morning after, we still don't know who won the election. I was like, yeah, it's like it could be anything. Like Bert's saying, it's a widespread fraud. I don't know how it happened. How is Kennedy even in this? Pete then finally this next morning does return the package he got back to Don, and he then tells him, hey, I don't know who you are. Because, like, I'm assuming you're this guy named Dick Whitman, but I'm pretty sure you're not Don Draper. Because I got a buddy in the Department of Defense, and he tells me that Don Draper died back in the. Don Draper fell off the map, and this guy Dick Whitman, he died in the Korean War. I'm pretty sure you're lying about being Don Draper. I'm just saying that, and this could go away if you just make me head of accounts. I won't tell anybody about it. I won't blow up your life if you just just do that for me. I'll give you some time to think about it, but I'm gonna tell him if you don't make me head of accounts. So just have a good day on this one. Of course, Don is definitely a bit befuddled at this. We then go back to the Don's time, Don/Dick, in his time in the Korean War. He is being dropped off at some spot where he does meet the real Lieutenant Donald Draper. And they have been sent to this place to build a hospital, but it is just those two. So they got to kind of do it alone. So then we go back to real life. Don is, of course, left the office. He heads to Rachel's office, all disheveled, talking crazy, he's clearly nervous. He's like, "Hey, why don't we just just go somewhere? Let's go to Mexico, Europe, whatever. I don't care. Let's just go right now." And she's like, "I don't know what the fuck you're talking about, man. You look wild, you sound crazy, and you seem also kind of like a shitty dad. And, just want to leave your kids and wife behind, just out of nowhere."
I would
I don't think I
provide for
like
them.
Yeah. It's I don't think I like you anymore. Yeah, this is really stupid. So why don't you just get the hell out of here? So after that happens, he then goes back to his office, deflated, sees Peggy crying in there, and she's like, "Yeah, I unfortunately got a couple people fired. I told security about what happened. That they fired some janitor guy or whatever. So I'm feeling bad. Why did all the bad people got to get away with everything?" And
Right, 2 people got fired who weren't even there that night.
and of course this makes Don think, you know what, fuck it. He goes over to Pete. He's like, "Listen, man, I'm gonna make Duck Phillips head of accounts, and that's gonna be the thing of it." And then Pete is like, "Listen, man, I'm not bluffing. You do that, I'm gonna tell Bert who you really are. Just don't test me on this." So they both head over to Bert's office together. They stand in there, and Bert's like, "Hey, listen, man, I'm not in the mood. I don't care that you're sad that Kennedy won. Doesn't matter. Go find another drink, buddy, right now." And then Don is like, "Listen, I'm gonna make Duck Phillips head of accounts. I think he's the right guy for the job." And then Bert's like, "All right, good." And then Don looks at Pete. Bert kind of looks at Pete. And Pete's like, "All right, I gotta tell you something. I'm pretty certain that Don is lying about who he is. I think his real name's Dick Whitman. Donald Draper died in the war. He is clearly impersonating this other person's identity. I don't think we can trust him. And I just came to you as a good employee." And then Bert is like, "I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. Even if this were true, who gives a shit? No, everybody in here is a liar in some sense. I don't think they're really gonna care if Don is just another. It doesn't matter. He's already a partner too. I don't know what you want me to do. He's too important to the business." Pete walks out of there defeated. Bert tells him he can fire Pete if he wants, but you never know where loyalty can grow from. So they just kind of leave it at that. We then go back into the wartime, back into the past. and we see Dick / Don with the real Don digging a trench, and all of a sudden, like they're being fired upon. Bullets are flying, like they don't know what to do. He's just telling them, listen, just stay down. Like we don't shoot at them, they'll probably stop at some point. So that happened. They stopped shooting. They're kind of relaxing. They're having to smoke, and he kind of sees him. Hey, like, guess you pissed yourself. He just sees like some like liquid running down his leg. They drop a match. Turns out it was actually like a stream of gasoline. Gasoline had like come all the way to their hole. It lights up a fire, and a big explosion happens. After that, Don wakes up Don / Dick, like John Hamm wakes up in the hospital. He's like, and then they're calling him Lieutenant Draper, and we don't know what's going on. We then go back into the past. He wakes up from the explosion. He sees like the guy like just burned all up, and like nobody could recognize who he is. He's also dead, by the way. It's Don goes over, switches his dog tags, and from that point on, he then assumes the identity of this man, Donald Draper. And now he is out of the army, technically a deserter at this point, since he just left his post. We then see the moment where Adam thought he saw Don on the train as they're sending his body back over to his family. We see Don unable to meet him. He also can't meet him. They're going to say, hey, actually, he's right there. He's not in this coffin. Train leaves. Adam's running after him. He's sad. And then, of course, we then see Don return home at the end of the day, having won it, so to speak. And we see Nixon is conceding to Kennedy, so Kennedy has won the election. And that is the end of Nixon versus Kennedy.
Oh yeah, I think this is probably the best episode so far this season. I loved everything in it. The whole stuff with the election night party with everybody involved there and all their characters. All the stuff with the Pete versus Don going back and forth with each other was crazy. The flashbacks, we finally, after 12 episodes, I was able to dust off the kill count for Mad Men. We have a 1 on there now, so that's cool. Sucks that Don gaslit his brother like that at the end, but hey, I mean, I'm sure he'll wind up being an okay guy as he gets older. I'm sure nothing will happen to him. Yeah, I mean, this was a fantastic episode.
Yeah, it's by far the best episode of the season for me. The build up between Pete's like finally got Don like cornered, and then for what's the boss's name?
Bert.
Bert. Who cares? Like, what are you doing? Like, I don't give a fuck at this point. Every client I have knows him as Don Draper. He's gonna be like, it's gonna be Don Draper. You don't add up to anything in this. Like, it's just like it's like every squirmy kid, like, he cheated. So what? That's life. I just love that part. We're not going to go back and forth, are we? We're going to just call him Don, right? I don't want to try to remember two names. Okay, I don't want to try to remember two names. No, that's Don. To quote the famous movie of Four Christmases, once you change your name, you don't say, hey, my name used to be Asshole, but now it's Bob. It's just Bob. So
as far as we're concerned, Dick Whitman died in Korea.
Yeah, Dick Whitman's gone. Brother is not a lover, and so overall, great episode. Just great intrigue between both of them. I don't know how I fully feel about the flashbacks that have happened in the show. I understand it's to get a little bit more because Don's more of a mystery man, but like I kind of like the mystery. I don't know how you guys feel, but like it's not as similar at all. But this is a wild take I'm going to go. But like, I hate when they tell me a beginning of something. Like when they used to do like that with horror, like serial killers or like stuff. Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the beginning. Like, I don't need to know why he got the leather face. Like, I don't need to know why Don became Don. I just want Don to be Don. Like, that's just me personal. I understand if it has layers of why he's a fucking weirdo. Sure, because Don's weird. Don
This maybe explains why he's going to drive off to get a cake for 6 hours.
And it's accepted. It is accepted by these people. So there's some weird shit about Don that maybe, but that's kind of the mysteriousness of Don. So I don't know how I feel about it, but overall, fantastic episode. Kind of weird personally about the Kennedy Nixon. I understand it happened at the time point, so they wanted to reference it. But it was very minor about like how everybody even reacted to it. They all worked on Nixon. They weren't super sad. Like they were like, whatever, but they were fine. Like, don't worry, James Franco's going to make sure that doesn't happen soon. But overall, yeah, if this was 12, and I think, not to tease, I think episode 13 is also like right up there is a really good episode. So take it away, Bob. I mean, Mark.
Yeah. Go ahead. And, finishes up with the wheel. The season 1 finale. Yeah, we go into Pete's in-laws. They're trying to persuade him to start a family, and they like Pete's father-in-law they just want him to to be less focused on work. Let's just like give my daughter a kid, and that way you just kind of get your life started, so to speak. Don tells Betty he's too busy with work to go to Thanksgiving at her dad's. Busiest time of the year, like everybody's buying stuff, Christmas is right there. I got to know, like, if this is working. Like, I'm also going to be there for like a day. So, it doesn't really matter if I go there. And she's like, hey, you just don't want to be, with my family, don't you? She's like, yeah, of course I don't. Like,
I love Dawn's line where she was like, I don't think you want to go. And he's like, oh, I'm sorry. Was I unclear on that?
These are just so much fun, right?
Not to touch back with the kids, but like you're like, oh, give Pete's getting pressure to give kids to grandchildren. He's already busy doing that on freaking pervert. The worst. He is arguably one of the worst TV characters in the. Oh my gosh. We need to do a ranking of that at some point once I watch it on television, but holy shit, he sucks.
It's like Vern Schillinger and then like Pete, like right below.
Like Newman from Seinfeld, like it's like up there. It's like when he shows up, my skin crawls. Like it's going to be that point. He is going to do something that you're like, oh my gosh, Pete. And I'm like, I don't fucking care. Fuck him. He's a piece of shit. Like, I'm going to be so out on Pete. It doesn't even, he can save an orphanage. I'm like, oh, and one kid would die in it. I'll be like, kill the kid in it. Like, I'm running that smear campaign all day long.
Yeah. So anyway, Harry is staying in the office. He must have told his wife about it, or she found out about him sleeping with that secretary or whatever. But yeah, he's just sleeping in the office for right now. Betty's friend catches her husband cheating. So she opened up that phone bill, started calling numbers. Some woman answered the phone. She's like, I don't know what he's doing calling this woman, like 11 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night or whatever. She's like, I don't know what to tell you. She's like, I don't know. I thought you know what to do, Betty. Like, she's like, why would I know what to do? No reason, Betty. Absolutely no reason whatsoever.
Betty, if you don't know, I'm not going to.
I'll let Tony Soprano's mom take care of that for me.
Oh, jeez.
Duck then meets with everybody in the office, tries to motivate them to find new business. We then see Peggy trying to find a voice for the for that relaxer belt that they're trying to sell. She gets that voice actress like in the booth, and she's like, "Yeah, you're not sounding confident. Just be more confident. Like just just they start over like 4 or 5 times, and like Peggy just finally just breaks her. Like she's like, yeah, we're just gonna go another way. So he fires her, and they get the second choice they had, which Kenny was. Turns out he was right from the beginning. Yeah, we should have just got this other.
But she was a good wingman for Kenny. He's like, oh yeah, run after her and go console her, and you can like take her out for dinner or something.
Don's looking over the old pictures. And he's like, and I guess I didn't make myself clear to Adam. Like, so he calls over the hotel and is like, hey, I just want to return it. I just want a forwarding address for this guy that stayed in your hotel. He's like, oh yeah, now I know who you're talking about. But sorry to tell you, but like he hung himself. Like, yeah, he's dead. And Don is like, what? Like, yeah, I mean, he just was shocked. Like, he left a bunch of money too. He went to the city, which, I mean, there's that. And then so yeah, Don realizes that his brother is now dead, and
it might be Don's fault just a smidge.
Probably his fault.
Wow. How can we say that?
He didn't leave a note, so we can't say for sure. But context clues. Then Betty calls a number from the phone bill and realizes it's her therapist. Though she is relieved it isn't a woman, which I would thought, like, when she sits with that for like a minute, it's like, why the fuck is he calling my therapist? Who they got to talk about? Then Betty does run into Glenn outside the bank. He's like, yeah, I can't talk to you anymore. Mom said. She's like, well, I don't care. And then she's like, I can't talk to anybody. And then the kid and Glenn just like offers her his hand, try to console her, and she's like just kind of sobbing, like I don't know what to do. Like, just a really sad moment. Like, just like, I think this is the time finally this moment hit me. It's like, oh shit, like Betty's is all fucking alone. Like she can only rely on this kid to be there for it. Even
still wrong fucking kid to pick, but weird.
Yeah, if he didn't need therapy already, he definitely needs it now.
Yeah, like why pick that child after he already did the weird choice?
And then he's like, I don't know how long 20 minutes is.
like,
you should probably go.
That kid is level 70 of like, get the hell away from a situation. Like, he's smart. We can't even get on conversations. Like, Betty couldn't even get away from that air conditioner guy that quick. She's like, 20 minutes? Yeah, get out of
here. Then after that, Betty meets with her therapist, and she tells him, she basically knows that Don's cheating on her and such, and brings all the evidence, and yes, her way of at least slightly taking back the power, if you will, but still very sad life. Pete says he's able to bring in an account as a clear cell. He was able to do that with the help of his father-in-law, because he works over at Vic's Chemical, place where they're at. And then throughout the episode, they're trying to figure how to get Kodak in. They are working on like that little photo wheel that projector, became popular, and he gives one of his Don-like presentations. Talks about nostalgia, and it's like old pain, and this is a time machine. We can go forward and back in time, and like everybody is everybody like takes it to heart. Harry runs out of the room crying because like it makes him think about his wife and his kid. I can't remember if they got a kid, but so they easily win that account of like, these guys canceled all their meetings. Like we 100% got Kodak. So everybody's celebrating at the end, and Pete and then Don is like, this clear cell thing, I got a way we can easily win this. Young women worry about their skin, and we got Peggy here who has just been knocking things out of the park lately. Why don't we bring Peggy as a junior copywriter? Her first thing would be clear cell. And then Pete is like, what the fuck? I told we have our best guy. Yeah, so Pete, didn't take that very well, and everybody, even though everybody's happy for Peggy, he's like, "Good, she got promoted, yay!" Like Pete's like, "Nah, fuck this, I'm gonna go cry in my office," basically.
I love. I mean, she earned the promotion, but it was also a fuck you to Pete. So I love that.
Oh yeah, that was double barrel, just ready to rip him apart.
Yeah, after hearing the good news, Peggy then moves into her new office, but she's feeling just a tad bit sick. She doesn't know really what it is. She heads over to the doctor. She's like, my stomach really hurts. Think I ate a bad sandwich or whatever. He starts examining her. He's like, "Well, you didn't tell me you were expecting." It's like, "Fuck you talking about expecting? I'm not pregnant." Like, yeah, you're pregnant. Like, just take a feel here. Like, that's what that is. Like, these are contractions. We got to get you into maternity. You're into labor right now.
I mean, the guy's been trying to tell her all season that she's been getting fat. So I mean,
yeah, they weren't just mean. They
were just pregnant.
They were looking out for her.
And then afterwards, she has the kid, and she can barely look at the kid. Just refuses to feed or hold the baby. Turns the nurse away. We then go into a happier family situation. Dawn gets home and sees Betty and the kids haven't left yet, and she's like, "Oh, you're gonna see us off? I guess you're gonna take us to the train station." She's like, "No, kids, Betty, I'm gonna go with you. We're gonna have the happiest Thanksgiving ever." Everybody's like, "Yay!" They're cheering. They're about to get in the car, and then Dawn actually gets home. Betty and the kids aren't there. They had already left. And then we see Dawn sit on the stairs alone in an empty house while the camera pans out, and I'm pretty sure we listened to a Bob Dylan song. So yeah, we end off season 1 with Dawn all alone, no family, and
poor Dawn.
I guess Peggy also has a kid that she didn't know about. So, that is the end of the Wheel. And that is the end of
that was like a big 4-month-old baby that they pulled out of her. when she showed up, she was a little bit chunky, but hey, I guess that happens sometimes, and it just shows that how strong Pete is, that birth control is no match for him.
I mean, that's just wild. I can't believe they did. This still gets me. This is my 4th time seeing this episode. I still can't believe it. He just walks out there. It's like, "Hey, by the way, you're pregnant." It's like, the fuck are you talking about? I thought I just put on an extra 30 pounds. I don't know what you mean. I just like the extra sandwich at lunch.
But yeah, no, this was another great episode. I love the Kodak, the carousel pitch. I think that's definitely one of Don's best pitches. It's just all the crazy stuff. Betty just going through it all. I love anytime her and Glenn have a scene together. It's always fun stuff. And yeah, just Don. I feel a little bad for him at the end there. So he deserves a lot of it, but still feel a little bad for him.
Betty's a sad kid.
Yeah.
Never get. Maybe this is the time, because I am starting to feel worse for Betty. I think as the season going along, I thought, because I know at some point it does go. It's just that's the way Betty is. You're supposed to feel really bad for her, and you should. It's she's the loneliest person in the world. Though there is something about the way they decide to do stuff for characters. I don't know. I just don't really like it.
What, you don't feel bad for Betty? What kind of monster are you?
I mean, saying you do feel bad for her. I think
when you said you're starting to this time around feel more bad for Betty. What, the first time you watch this, you're like, quit bitching. It's
just like Mark says that we're gonna turn on Pete. There might be a turn for Betty later. Who knows?
Oh, fuck.
Maybe they're gonna cross roads.
What is she gonna do? Cheat on Don? Who cares at this point? What are we doing? What can she? This woman sits across the table from, like, sits on the couch with him and goes, "How would you do that to somebody you love?" And Don's sitting there like, "I don't know. He's banging every girl he gets a chance to."
But at least he's not calling from his home phone. He's smarter than that.
Yeah, he just finds one in close proximity to the office.
But I mean, really, are there like any happy people on this show?
No, everybody's fucking miserable in this show. I mean, like, maybe the head boss, like, he might be the happiest. But
Oh, yeah, he's just reading those Ayn Rand book and he's good to go.
I mean, Peggy was pretty happy. She thought she was getting a raise, a new job. Things were really looking up Peggy. You know, she was a little bit heavier than she wanted to be, but that ended up clearing. That ended up, just solving itself.
Oh yeah,
like
and the baby's gone, so it'll be she'll be back up to speed in no time.
I don't know. Just not saying I don't feel bad for Betty. It's just like they're like feel like the way they did her character throughout is like you feel bad for her, but you're also kind of annoyed by her throughout. Which we definitely had moments like that. You know, she also gave that kid a lock of her hair. You know, unsolicited.
Oh, he kind of asked for it.
No, he asked for it. You just give him the clue. Like, he asked for it, but she shouldn't have given it. All right, you ready to head to Sopranos, Bill?
Okay.
The Sopranos, season 1, episode 11. Nobody knows anything. Opens. Walnuts and Pussy are having a little bit of fun in the house with some ladies. Pussy's back goes out. He's injured. They end up going back to the club. They're sitting there playing poker. FBI raid happens. Pussy's standing there. They find guns. Pussy decides to break and run. He's still complaining about his back. And they're all having a conversation like, why would he run? Like, what's he doing? There's nothing wrong. They're all, you're like an idiot. Officer, what's his name? Detective McKinsey. Yeah. He's there. He's talking to him about like, hey, Tony, like things are starting to add up, like with me and stuff. So he's like, what the hell do you want me to do? Like, you're on your own with this situation. But he wants him to. He doesn't have much. What he can do. He ends up. I think that's later on, though, right? He ends up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So there's a party or whatever happening at Tony's house. Tony's becoming more and more suspicious of Big Pussy and what he's doing. Walnuts and Christopher are there, and they end up talking about him. He's like complaining about his back, talking about leaving early from the party. Walnuts and Christopher are talking to Tony, and Tony's like, "What are you talking about? Like, yeah, he's got those perks, and he's taking them like they're freaking M&Ms and popping in his mouth." And Walnuts goes, "Here's the funny thing: nothing's wrong with his back." "What do you mean? You know that time I got hit in the head with a pool cue?" It's the same doctor. Doctor says nothing's wrong with it. All scans, nothing. He's just complaining about something that's not really there. So Tony's talking in therapy with his thing because it's like, because he feels like loyalty is the one thing Tony's like is number one on, and he is now feels like one's betraying him for something. Carmela goes and visits Tony's mom, and she does the whole like, nobody wants me. Oh, I feel terrible. Blah blah blah. So I was like, cut the shit. Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm standing right here. We're inviting you. Like, knock it the fuck off. And basically lets up that I don't know who her husband was. What's his name? But that Uncle Junior's like nothing compared to him. Like, he's just absolutely nuts. She's slipping in and out. Tony stops by Big Pussy's house unexpectedly. And he's like, "You all right? Like everything good?" He's like, "Oh, Tony, why are you here?" He's like, "Oh, I'm just checking on you." And then gets really close and does the old mob. "You got anything you want to tell me?" "Oh, nothing at all." So he's still battling with the shit about what's going on because clearly Big Pussy's doing something behind his back. He just doesn't know yet. Walnuts. He's saying he's basically contemplating because he can't fully take him. Like he can't do it. Like he won't do it. But Walnuts is saying he'll do it for him, but he's like, you can't do it unless you're 110%. Like we can't just.
You gotta get the proof, yeah.
We got to have the proof for sure. What is? I'm trying to think. Tony's. No, I think that's wrong. Big Pussy and Walnuts are like going to like the sauna place, or like a gym or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's when Walnuts like confronts him. He goes, "Take off your clothes." "Can't take off my clothes." "Take them off. Why don't you want to take off your clothes?" Because he's thinking he's a liar. Big Pussy's like, "My doctor said no heat, no stress, no nothing. I can't go in those sauna." So he's like, so they're still not sure.
The best part of that sequence though is that when Walnuts shows up to pick him up in the car, he honks the horn and it's the Godfather theme and the car horn.
That's true. I forgot all about it shows Silvio is gambling. No, that's Silvio. Silvio finds out Big Pussy's like gambling, like he's in large. He's down a lot of money. And the detective is the cops come to him while he's in the shower. Like he ends up like they kept raiding the party or whatever it is. There's a bunch of people. He ends up going while he's in the shower. But he ends up jumping off a bridge, taking his own life. Like he just doesn't want to go. So Tony's got that all weighing on his head. He's already having all these other issues. Tony goes and visits his wife, right? His wife, and talks to her about the situation, and like they have a moment. Junior and Miss Soprano basically talk about taking Tony out. Basically, is like the whole like conversation. Now it may be her being loopy or whatever the hell it is, but that's ends up the whole conversation. I think the episode ends with Junior's right hand man and his wife like talking about like Tony seeing the therapist, like the shrink stuff. Gonna be taking him out, but like not like giving her any much information. And that's basically where the episode ends. Did I miss anything else?
Yeah.
Is the guy the cop like mixed up who he thought the rat was, because he thought it was a Big Pussy, and then like after Jimmy comes back and he tries to like get Tony to admit to a bunch of stuff in his basement, he realizes that it was actually Jimmy who's the informant. So like he goes and he tries to tell Paul, he's like, "Hey, don't kill Pussy."
Oh right.
Even though they can't find him, like the rat is 100% Jimmy. Like there's nobody else it could be.
Oh,
Yeah. So it's Jimmy. And that's episode 11.
Which, yeah, Olivia's the fucking worst, right? Like she's just like fucking worst person, worst parent. His mom.
Yeah.
Oh, all-time worst mom. Like at all.
Like just casually throwing in the right information to get Junior to be like, "Oh, I gotta kill Tony now."
I mean, it just shows like that first episode where he's like, if feminist wasn't the thing, like you would have literally ruined. You would have been the. You would have been the mobster. Like you would have been the gangster. You're the biggest gangster of them all, Mom.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, it's a really solid episode. I always love it when it's got Tony's paranoia is like cranked up to 11, kind of trying to figure out this whole rat situation, and he loves big pussy, so he can't believe it. He doesn't want to believe it, and thankfully they are able to figure out before it's too late that it's not him. So yeah.
Who's Jimmy?
The other big fat guy that looks like big pussy a little bit, which was I think kind of how the cops mixed it up too. That one cop, yeah.
I mean, this is just kind of the best aspects of Sopranos, really. Because the last episode is the one with the band, right? Like they're like Christopher and we're trying to start that band.
Weird, yeah.
And like that was last episode, and then like just out of nowhere, we just get thrown into the story where we think one of his crew is a rat. Tony's got to try to figure out who the rat is, and he thinks it's one of his best friends. And he's telling Paulie, "Hey, you got to figure this out." Like, just we go through this like weird downward spiral, then deleting to where like Junior now like is thinking like he has to kill Tony. Like, just a bunch of stuff just kind of happens, just in the middle. Like, just really like Sopranos, I think more than anything, really knows how to tell the story as if like it's happening in real life, to where like we're going through like just the mundanity of everyday life, kind of doing stuff for your family, and then just out of nowhere just problems just rise up and we just kind of have to deal with it.
Anything else? All right, let's get to a weird episode. Isabella, which if you don't know what that means, I'm pretty sure Tony still doesn't know what that means, but we'll get to it. Tony's in a deep depression. Barely gets out of bed. He's heavily medicated, prescribed by his doctor. His condition worsens to the point when he becomes from his family work, spending time. He's sleeping all the time. He doesn't think. And now there's this mystery girl across the way of his neighbor's house named Isabella. She's there from Italy, and he's infatuated by her. Meanwhile, Uncle Junior and Mikey are planning the hit on Tony at a funeral. They're basically working through with getting taking out the Sopranos, basically, is what they're planning on doing. There's two guys they hire, the two black guys. They first witness Christopher, right? Christopher, like they're like, we can't just because they're looking for Tony. I don't think they're not going to take out Christopher. They get him, like they're waiting for him, and then Junior and Mikey end up going to another hit, basically, of this guy.
No, he was kind of like that guy. I think Donnie was the one who was like hired the other two guys, so he kind of set it all up. But then he like he was disrespectful towards Junior, so Junior kind of had him just killed for that.
Yeah, brutal, just shot him in the head. They're doing a very good job of fighting like Junior's like not really made for this life. Like he wants to be the boss so bad, but he doesn't have the guts to really be the boss because he's like hiding in the back seat. He's there looking over at the dead body when it's done, but he doesn't really have anything going. He is he's going to Tony's back to Tony and his doctor. They're going there talking about their situation. Why he's basically still high, talking about Isabella and how much like in love he is with this woman. And she's like, oh, okay. They have like a whole Isabella and him have this whole like lunch date or whatever the situation, but it keeps like fading back to like weird times. Isabella's just a figment of Tony's imagination. Like it's just a dream, but like at this point in the episode, like I know they want us to like reveal that at the end. If you're not catching, like, if no one catches, like, it's obvious from the get. But this is not real. But it's so.
Well, they kind of throw a monkey wrench in too, because there's the one scene where he's like staring at her, and then his wife comes in and catches him staring at her, and then she yells at him and stuff for that. But that never happened.
Like, no, I didn't.
The fucking mother of the year shows up. They all have dinner.
Yeah.
Tony walks out in his robe and like looks all disheveled, and of course Mom's going to use that as leverage towards Junior later. Junior doesn't want to come over because he doesn't feel that well. There's that dream about him yelling at her. Carmela's like, get the fuck up. Like, what the fuck is your problem? You're being a disgrace to the family and everything. Then the assassination attempt happens. They try to kill Tony. He gets shot in the ear, kills the other guy, grabs the other one's thing, drives it, and then ends up wrecking his car. But Tony is in the hospital, but alive. He did not die.
They have to be like the worst hitmen ever, because he was like he's barely walking and coherent, and they couldn't take him out.
If Star Wars was around at this time, they would have been picked up to be stormtroopers. They are effing terrible. I love that Tony's laying in the hospital bed and the FBI agent comes over to Carmela and is like, hey, informant, tell us everything you know. Nothing happens. We all get you new identities. We get you out of here. But how about you stop talking to my fucking wife? Like, this
might not be a bad idea.
Carmela's like, I didn't ask you. Like, so Carmela's going up on the power rankings. I kind of like her balls on this situation. She's like, what the fuck? Mom's whining and complaining to Junior. He comes in his bathrobe. He does it serious. He's depressed. He's talking to his shrink all the time. Blah blah. Junior's getting more and more upset. Tony's back in the thing at home. Everybody's around. Junior's around. They're all like sitting there drinking, talking about Tony like basically makes AJ go to his homecoming dance. He's like, you need to go, like, it will be fine. Mom will drop you off. Tony sits and talks to his therapist. They get in a car. They meet up in a car basically and says, did you tell anybody like what's going on? Like, something's happening that doesn't need to know. He's like, I may have talked to my immediate family, but no, never said anybody's name. And then at the end of the episode, fucking Tony goes over to his neighbor's house and goes, hey, where's that Italian girl that you had over? What? No clue. And that's how the episode ends. Isabella, thoughts?
Yeah. I mean, any episode that has a lot of Tony dream sequences or hallucinations, that's
it's bad episode.
But I did like the stuff with all the hits, trying to set up the hitmen, and then the like I said, it was one of the worst hits I've seen in anything mob related. But so and like you said, Carmela is I think she's becoming a more interesting character as the season progresses, and Tony's mama is just the worst. It's like her and Pete are like neck and neck right now.
I don't know. Like, I'd definitely put his mom like pretty high. Listen, Pete is a swarmy little bastard. As far as I can tell, he hasn't like repeatedly made moves to try to kill one of his kids.
I might respect him more if he tried to have Don killed or something. But
yeah, no, she's just yeah, just that is one of the better things about just going through the rewatch of the show. Is like I don't really feel like I got to fully appreciate Olivia Soprano as a character as much, like especially here at the beginning, because I feel like I was just a little bit too naive about it, and thinking that Olivia's just kind of constantly fucking up, telling Junior the wrong things. No, she's just fucking playing him like a fucking fiddle. She just, just knows exactly what to say to just set Junior off. And oh god, just it really. I mean, don't want to just go into the next episode. It really ends up just at the perfect place. At least I cannot wait till we get to that part.
I think so far my favorite part of the show is the just the screwed up family dinners. Whenever we got a good family dinner with everyone just going crazy and yelling at each other and stuff, best part of the episodes.
100%. I don't. How do you pronounce his last name? Jeannie?
Cusamano, Jenny.
Yeah.
Cusamano. I dreamed of Jeannie. Cusamano. So the episode opens with kind of like, I wouldn't say the uniting of the families or whatever, but there's like a group of Junior and all there. So I was like, oh, this is classic Goodfellas. If this was the end of the Sopranos, maybe he gets shot in the back of the head here. But clearly that's not the case. Ends up leaving. Jimmy, I know who Jimmy is because Jimmy is the fat guy. He gets taken. Him and Christopher go into like a hotel or whatever with these ladies. They end up bringing him to a room. Silvio walks out of the back of the thing and ends up. He's like, "Oh, you don't got your wire on you tonight? You rat fuck!" Hits him in the back of the head. Kills Jimmy. I don't know how old Meadow is, but it was very off-putting to see like a whole makeout session on the couch. It's like, oh god, I thought she was like way underage, but apparently not. Whatever the case may be. Livia, she shows up. Grandmama shows up to the house, so don't know how the hell she got away, how she escaped or whatever, but she's just walking and finds the house. I love the boyfriend's like, who are you? Blah, blah. Like, buddy, like, you're making out with Meadow Soprano in the Sopranos household. You're going to die. Like, you might as well. They don't have to talk. I would say the most intense therapy session happens on this is basically Jennifer's just trying to connect the dots that your mother is the problem. Your mother set up the hit on you, basically. Your mother's in part of it.
Someone would have said something about your mother.
And
He's a
then
little bit curious. All this is happening, and like after the failed attempt of your life.
created the thing, the inner circle, everything. And he's like, you twisted fucking bitch. Like, I'll cut your head off. Like basically, yeah, it's like, look at him, break your fucking face, like everything. Mom's a trigger word with Tony. Tony leaves. She shuts the door. She locks it. Carmela and who's the other lady?
Was that it's Jackie's wife? I can't remember.
Yes,
Something
and they're
weird.
having dinner at Artie's restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
And they're eating there, and Artie, I found a spot to remember people's names. Basically, Artie is sitting there talking to her and doesn't want. Why don't you go stay out of your friends? I don't want this place turned into another mob house. Like, that's not what I want. I don't want anything.
Okay.
Oh my god. Hold on, let me pull. Yeah, basically they don't want to make this into another mob hangout. Why she won't go out and like talk to her friend. The priest shows up and they all are having that whole conversation. I don't really remember what the conversation about the priest is, but basically it creates a tiff in the Sopranos because like I don't know. He's a weird priest. I'll just be honest. Like I think these priests are supposed to have like ovens and like not doing this stuff, and then it didn't end up working.
The guy just likes food, okay? Like
he just likes hanging out with the ladies,
Yeah.
Gossiping.
Guy's walking, delivering something, trips over Jimmy's body. I think that's Jimmy's body, right?
Mhm.
Oh,
With the rat in the mouth, basically.
Yeah.
Tony's sitting there with the FBI agents talking about all the situations with Junior. Basically, it is what it is. Like they're trying to get him to fully commit to the turning on him, but since the attack already kind of happened, he's on his own basically at this point. Artie goes and visits Tony's mom. Tony's mom tells him it's about that he burned down his restaurant. His mob hit. Tony basically gives orders to Christopher, Pauly, and Walnuts to take out Junior's right hand man, like his crew.
Mhm.
And then Tony, I think Chucky is shot by the doc by Pauly.
Yeah.
Mikey, the right hand man, was chased down through the woods, shot by Pauly and Christopher, and Jimmy was he was the one executed by Silvio in the episode, but he's basically all taken out. Tony ends up going to the therapist's office to try to talk to her. Oh no, like listen, let's just hear me out. Starts talking about dream he's having a big old ad, like having sex with it, like Tony weird, and basically ends up when he leaves, Artie is in the parking lot holding a rifle at Tony. Like gonna shoot him. He's like, you think I'm gonna burn down your restaurant? Me? Like my mom told you that? My mom, like, she's going crazy. Ends up talking Artie down. Artie makes like the most crazy situation. Like he breaks up his own car, which is still a weird situation to me, but whatever. He ends up beating him up. Another chaotic dinner at the Sopranos house where Junior's arrived. They're all there. But tension's a little higher than normal. Artie goes to the priest, starts talking about like the restaurant. He said he needs to come clean with his wife, needs to talk to her about everything, like repent and everything will be better in that situation. Carmela goes to the priest, goes to bring like pasta or whatever. He's in there eating pasta with another woman. I guess it's the woman he went to lunch. She went to lunch with, right? And then they're sitting there. So she dumps her pasta out, basically done with him. Artie's gonna sits down and gonna have a conversation with his wife, but ends up not telling her the stuff that he needs to tell her. It is really funny. Like, I don't know. I already said that he got shot in the woods by getting chased down, but when Mikey does get shot and Walnuts gets poison ivy from the woodsman, God, the comedic pursuit of just running and shooting. And this like maneuver that Christopher does with the gun is like gotta be the most inefficient thing I've ever seen in my life.
It undercut the so he's like, you killed Brendan, you shot him in the face, like, oh my god, I got poison ivy.
And then they interview him like, yeah, he was just gonna go try his running shoes and everything and like this and blah blah. Junior literally sits there and is like, hey, you're gonna spend your whole life in prison, like with this stuff, like you need to rest. He's like, it's like blah blah, yeah, I want to sleep with whoever she is. Like he's not gonna rap. He doesn't believe like his nephew running things is gonna be right. Carmelo has to kind of break it to the priest that, hey, it's over between us or whatever this weird shit you were trying to do besides use our entertainment system. And then I think one of the best like scenes ever is Tony shows up at the hospital and is like, and then it was like, you ordered the hit on me? You want to take me out? Like I know she's in there. She's smiling at me right fucking now. Like, hey, I'm still alive and I'll live longer and be a happy life. I'm like you miserable. Like, basically. And then he headbutts the AMT just like gets in the face. Your only son, your middle child. Like, He's like, she had a stroke. She's not in there. Oh, she's in there. Like, I'll tell you, I know that woman. She's in there, and there's nothing you can do about it. Terrible thunderstorm is happening. As they're driving, they pull over to Artie's restaurant. They go inside. They have a meal. And that's kind of how the first season of The Sopranos wraps up.
Yeah.
Thoughts?
Yeah, well, Olivia Soprano, fucking worst. Really going all in on pretending to have dementia, faking a stroke somehow. Don't know how she pulled that one off. Like, really ace move on that one. Definitely some of, like, I think the more enjoyable, like, Melfi stuff. And they're like, it's like not only the blow up, but I think it's also funny when Tony's like telling her about his dream. He's like, yeah, so the thing I'm there with Jeannie's badass. Like, huh? They're like, from what I know, it's like Jeannie's kind of a slender woman. Like, I don't know, they kind of putting something in there. No, and then also, yeah, just how we get like just the classic mob stuff, like, you know, they killed Mikey, and then kind of what you were kind of talking about like a couple episodes ago of like Junior not really wanting to give up the boss angle. We very easily could have just given it up. It's like, yeah, Tony's actually the boss, and he wouldn't have been in jail. But he likes the title so much, he likes the recognition. He's still willing to, you know, chance prison time to do it anyway. Yeah, just really, really neat way to. And also, yeah, that and the thing where he's just has that moment at the FBI, just hearing his uncle and his mom just planning killing him. Just
the nursing home. Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think they did a great job of kind of tying up a bunch of the loose ends with kind of Uncle Junior's crew and stuff, and then him kind of getting arrested at the end of the episode. It's kind of setting up a nice for Tony to kind of be the guy next season. I like to kind of pretty much the other two shows end with Vic and Don alone at home, and then this one gets to end with Tony having a nice little family meal with everybody there at the restaurant with all his friends and family. So he's the one that gets kind of the happy ending for the season.
Okay. Now I think this one's going to be a little hard, because in past seasons we used to just be able to go, Oz sucked. Wire.
Oz had a couple good seasons in the beginning. So
did it have anything to beat Breaking Bad or Wire ever? No. This is where it's subjective. I don't have any dog in this race. Like last time, I was fighting for Breaking Bad every season. Mark was fighting for Wire. I guess he kind of is fighting for Mad Men on everyone. So we'll see how that works. He's kind of he can't be unbiased. So season 1, The Shield, star ratings. Start with Matt. It's kind of your show.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the first season is not the best season. Like I said, I think the best season of the show come later on. But I think it does a great job of kind of setting up the characters, kind of setting up what the show is, what you kind of get to expect every week. Maybe a couple filler episodes here or there, a couple of maybe not as the strongest, but I think it ends strong. So I'll probably give it we're doing out of 5, right? So probably 4 stars.
Okay. I'm leaning 3.5. That's basically from one, a good starting point, because if we're gonna go up, but I also thought the few episodes that were just filler and dumb, they were still good, but they could have been done without. And besides Vic, I don't think anybody ever was in like any real like fear of getting caught or anything. So like still some left for the. So I would go 3.5 for Shield season 1.
Solid.
Mark.
I think I'm about the same spot. I definitely really enjoy where we're at. I really like Vic's character. and I like 99% of the characters on the show a lot, except for one glaring exception. I would say like the episodic nature, I think, still does get me here a little bit, because even though I do really enjoy pretty much all those episodes, it is still like we don't really have like a really strong like through line story yet. And I understand like we were still kind of trying to figure out who we wanted to kind of be in the show long term. Like I thought it was kind of weird throughout the season where we have Vic working with Lem here a bit, trying to figure out this case, and the next week he's with Shane, and then sometimes he's with Ron. Like for whatever reason, the full team is just not really around like the full season, which I thought was strange. Like, and which I know
only
is
like 3 episodes where they all actually write out all 4 of them together.
Yeah,
yeah,
which is something I know gets handled later on, so it's fine. I just think it as a whole, like this is I think it's a strong start and definitely one that I think we're in for some better stuff. But yeah, for right now, I give it 3.5.
Honestly, you guys have talked. I'm going down to 3.5.
Okay. All right, Mad Men. Mark.
Yeah, this one's tough because like I really like pretty much every character in the show, and like I think part of me thought, especially kind of just going after as we go in more in the long run, I thought for a few of these characters, like I think it took more time for them to kind of be good and to kind of really show that. And honestly, for a lot of them, it really was pretty immediate. I think I'm still leaning to like a 3.5 right now, just because like I even though like I do kind of, even though I think we probably had like more fun than I thought we would like with some Mad Men episodes, I didn't think like we'd have as much fun of when Don like drove off with the cake. Like I was a little bit surprised the conversation that sparked. But no, it just I feel like the show didn't super find its footing, or at least had that like real hook until Nixon and Kennedy. I think when Nixon and Kennedy comes on, I think kind of the show really does come into its own. It's kind of the turning point for me just in general with Mad Men. I think just because like we just kind of took us that long to get there, I think I'm still going to lean 3.5. Like again, pretty strong start, and I think a solid opening for every character here. But I think that's where I'm feeling with.
Okay, so I'm willing to go 3.5 as well, but I think the 3.5 of Mad Men is better than the 3.5 of Shield. That's my view.
Yeah.
I think Shield was good, but I think well, you all have seen something of some sort. I've seen nothing.
Yeah.
I'm out going off of my entertainment period. I was more entertained with the whole of Mad Men. I had more moments in Shield of just like eye roll, like what the fuck are we doing here? But like still not bad. Like I still had fun with it. But like I was intrigued with what was happening. So I'll do 3.5 too, because like I don't want to do 4.5s, or 5s right now, because I don't believe that's where that episode this season really was. I just think if we're ranking it, I would put it there. That's my take.
I think that the last 2 episodes of Mad Men were better than the other shows. I think we had a pretty good time with it. I think it did a good job of building up characters. I don't really feel like there was as much filler stuff in this. So I'm gonna give it 4.
Okay. So technically 3.75.
No, we can't do that.
Well, on our own ranking, we can. It's not an actual star rating based on it, since Letterboxd doesn't want to do TV for that. Okay, so Sopranos.
Sopranos for me, this first season, it has a lot of strong stuff to it, but then it's also got a lot of, like I said, anytime that Tony's having like weird dreams or visions that just takes me out of it. And that the episode where Christopher and Ariana, his girlfriend, were doing the music stuff.
That was
that
if
was
we had
probably
to
the
boil
worst
it down,
episode out of all these shows.
the basketball episode and that episode were the two worst of the season, but I would put the Christopher episode worse than the basketball one.
Yeah. So I'm gonna give it. I'll say the good outweighs the bad and give it 3.5.
Yeah, I'm also sitting 3.5 on it, and I would put it the weakest of the TV shows this season. I had a lot of fun. I enjoyed like the plot of it,
Mm-hmm.
but I think the Shield's final two episodes were jaw drop moments for me. Like, oh shit, like that's interesting. I didn't see it coming. Junior kind of getting arrested was kind of anticlimactic. Like it was fine and it was okay what ended up happening, but I wanted Junior to get his comeuppance. I did love the back and forth of Tony like being a child again, and like his mother, and like seeing his mom's like the real evil of the situation. I thought that was cool. But I'm with you. The Isabel, the Vision shit, I could totally do without those episodes. The Christopher music video thing, I could do without that. I also found the chaotic editing at times just like we could stay in something for like 30 seconds and bop to a new thing. But they also had some strong episodes. I thought the college episode was super strong. I thought the second to last I think the last episode here was really strong. But yeah, I'm at 3.5 and I put it below the Shield. I put Mad Men 1, Shield 2, Sopranos 3rd for this overall run. That's me with no dog in the fight. I don't have any.
Yeah.
This is just me going off of all seeing this, all 39 episodes for the first time. So
I think I will actually lean Sopranos here a little bit. I think I'm sitting at 4 stars.
Okay.
For this one, the rewatch, because I've seen it once, never rewatched it. I think this rewatch is honestly helping out quite a bit, because I think just in general, it's just filling in just these aspects that were not super clear to me, and like I just didn't fully understand the first time, because I feel like similar to kind of how I watched The Wire for the first time, it just felt like kind of plot points just kind of flown by me, and I didn't really understand what their significance, or at least what we were trying to do. And I think just in general, like the hangout aspect of this show, I just like a lot. I just really like all of these characters. I like hanging out with the crew, and which even in episodes that are like that do feel fillerish, like that band episode, I kind of like a lot of parts of that band episode. Like just seeing Christopher just like flip out in front of this band and trying to get this guy to to relapse so he can have better music, I just think is so like wild and funny. Like just, and plus like we just had like, I mean, Matt talks about, Mad Men wrapping up pretty well, which I will say, like Nixon, I think, versus Kenny's probably the best episode I think we've had of any of the shows so far.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Sopranos really wrapped up pretty well here. Like just kind of out of nowhere, we are going full into this war. We have like Tony getting hit on, and like we have like bodies being dropped, and like now everybody's being arrested. We really sped to the finish line there with Sopranos. They really finished off strong. I just think in general, the stuff that's going on in Sopranos, I think right now is just a bit stronger than the other two shows.
Interesting.
So based on the unbiased scoring, we have Mad Men 1, Sopranos 2, Shield 3, with a 3.5 for Shield, 3.75 for Sopranos, and 3.75 for Mad Men. Unless somebody wants to vote for Sopranos better than Mad Men season 1.
I'm okay with that.
I mean, I would, but I'm pretty sure I'm outvoted on that one. So.
Well, don't Sopranos and Mad Men have the same score? Because that's 2 3.5s and a 4 for both.
Yeah,
of them.
but we would decide where they would rank.
Oh, okay.
Whichever one.
Like,
I personally would put Mad Men over Sopranos. So yeah,
you would. Mark, you would put Sopranos
I
higher
would.
than Mad Men?
I think Sopranos is probably the best season one we've had. This one.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna still put Mad Men higher, in my opinion.
But they're all.
If we didn't have
so.
there was not an episode of Mad Men that was even close or equivalent to the Christopher music thing or the Isabella sequence.
Mm-hmm.
And we had Pete being ultimate. So the last thing that we'll decide on,
Before we get to that, I do want to update. So to the first kill count for the first season.
Oh yes, I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
I totally bypassed.
So Mad Men is in third place with 1, followed by Sopranos in second place with 13, and then The Shield is in the lead with 50 kills in the first season.
Gonna bypass Breaking Bad real fast. What is that? 13 episodes? What's that 15 divided by 13?
Well, the one episode with the shooter that really bumped up their numbers.
That's true. That's true. That's 3 kills per episode almost. Jesus Christ.
How's anybody still a cop over the Shield? I mean, I would quit tomorrow. There were 50 bodies dropped 5-month period.
And we
I didn't even
count
all of the serial killers. I only counted the 2 they dug up. I didn't count the 17.
We are doing a show about organized crime, and this is the police force. Crazy.
God, I would just love to see a show of Vic tracking down the Sopranos.
It's kind of weird. Normally we do bad guy, but since it's the season finale, bad guy of the season, season 1, you get 1 nomination apiece.
Have you been keeping track of the other ones? Is there someone who's gotten it multiple weeks?
Well, Pete's gotten it a couple times from us.
Yeah.
But this is your overall how you felt throughout the entire season. I have mine.
Mm-hmm.
Mama Soprano.
Yeah.
Number 1 bad guy. Awful character through. Ordered to hit on her son. Basically created family drama to get her son murdered. I don't think there's anything worse. I mean, Pete does some fucked up shit.
He's kind of creepy, but
I mean, it works for Elizabeth Moss. Tell me that. Tell me a more bullshit story in the entire world than that.
Oh yeah. Do you have anybody you think can top Mama Soprano?
I mean, Vic's pretty bad too. But.
I mean, I was gonna bring up. I mean, like listen, like she had a she came in here like post All-Star break, like in these last 3 episodes and really sealed up the race.
Oh, yeah.
Like went on an all-time run, just like really knows what Bud.
Just the end with her faking the stroke and then smiling at him when he comes to confront her.
That 40, 15, and 12 game she put up in the last that fadeaway jumper to close out the second half was just a disgusting display. So 2 votes for her. Matt, do you also concur? Or you got somebody else?
No, I think it's hard to argue anybody else reaches those heights. I mean, there are definitely people that had worse weeks, but as far as a whole season, I think she's definitely the top bad guy.
He's probably number 2, though, I'll be honest.
Yeah, this power, he would be Pete, right? He just didn't do anything besides be a deuce. Like, it didn't really help.
Pete's definitely second in the voting.
Well, that's season 1 of The Shield, The Sopranos, Mad Men. Next week, or 2 weeks when you're watching this, season 2, we're watching 4 of Mad Men.
Mm-hmm.
3 of The Sopranos, 3 of The Shield, and then Sopranos will get 4, and then The Shield will get 4, and then we'll do our season finale. Every 4, we're basically wrapping up a season. So join us then, and we will see you later.
Your turn to play bad cop?
Nah. Good cop and bad cop left for the day. I'm a different kind of cop.
I don't wanna do your dirty work no more.